All right, here we go. It is another exciting morning full of fun and good stuff and good times. I do have a pretty good topic to talk to you all about this morning. I like to try and get on the road or the highway before I start really chit-chatting because it's hard when you're in town. You gotta pay a little bit more attention. You can't just kind of drive and do your own thing. But at any rate, I like to try and do what I can to get these videos going. And I feel like these last few that I have filmed have been good. I've gotten out of the habit and away from filming ones on the way home. Just because I keep having these crappy days where I'm getting home late and I'm not able to do what needs to be done, and it just, my whole afternoon's just kind of in shambles. So I don't feel like talking about anything. It's hard enough because I don't normally have anything to talk about, but then when you add the fact that like I'm getting home late and I'm kind of grouchy, I was like, I don't feel like now is gonna make a good video. I've managed to stay ahead of myself, which is good. We'll see how well I manage moving forward. I really just was hoping that I could maintain, like these videos. This month was supposed to be my bounce back to videos, and I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to actually start recording videos over the weekend, and I want to record some quality videos too. Not to say that like these aren't quality, but like I've been watching a decent amount of video essays these days, and I think that I have some good ideas on videos to make and things to talk about. But like I think the other problem is I may have trapped myself in a niche. I started this channel out talking about Life is Strange, and anytime I do a video about Life is Strange or about any story-based game, it performs pretty well. But like these very kind of basic videos of me just talking about the world and my philosophies on it, especially now more than ever, have been doing quite poorly. And I think it's because the algorithm has officially given up. It's given me probably my fair chance to succeed, and I did not succeed. And so now it is allowing me to fail. And so it's unfortunate. But I saw a video, and I'll probably do a more organized essay on the topic at some point in time. But I saw a video about what they're calling the rise of man-children, and it's not something that I immediately recognized or thought was a problem, but I feel like the person who put this video together that I watched recently last night really quite said it very well, in that there's a lot of things happening in society for various different reasons that are keeping us, how do I want to put this there, keeping us in a boyhood state, and like we're not fully maturing into men. And I think that I have matured into a proper man, and I inadvertently avoided this elongated boyhood stage to a degree. Like I wasn't, because he made the comparison to Gen Xers, and he's like, Gen Xers had the ability to move out when they were 18 and actually like exist, but I'm not sure that he's making that assumption just kind of blindly as I think he's a Gen Z even, he's not a millennial, but he's making that observation, I don't know, based upon what facts, because like my parents were Gen Xers and they did move out at 18. In fact, they were forced to do so, and they said it was terrible. They were broke, they had no money, they couldn't enjoy life. And so for this guy to come out and be like, oh, Gen Xers had it easy, they could just move out and get a job and work, and it's like, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. But at any rate, something that I think is pretty interesting is like the state of men today, and being able to understand that I'm not the only person who sees this. And I feel like I've noticed this some time ago because I am struggling to make friends, and some of the friends that I run into or that I am spending time with are just not, like, they just don't vibe. And it's not that they don't vibe, it's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. But he kind of explained it, because he was like, you have these children, basically, who are just adult children, and instead of doing kids things, they're doing childish adult things. And if you are someone who's moved past that stage in life, you feel like spending time with them is just a glorified waste of time. And it's just the idea of these man children, in a simple way, is that they basically are people in their 20s usually, who are still very much so coddled to and parented by their parents, and who are just spending their time doing unproductive or unchallenging things. They dump a lot of hours in video games. They spend a lot of time just high and distracted in life, and you're just not really being a productive individual at that point. And I don't want to be harsh on anybody's lifestyles, because it is difficult to get out of your parents' house these days. It's living on your own is more expensive than it's ever been, and so it's harder for young adults to get out on their own. And a lot of parents don't want to let their young children get out on their own and just exist in constant financial stress. But at some point in time, you do need to disconnect from your parents. You need to become an independent individual. And the interesting thing about it is the idea of like coming to terms with the fact that your parents are just people. And it's a weird thing that I have recently come to terms with, and that was something that the guy in this video, he said a lot of things that like resonated with me, but I do remember coming to that realization, because like, or at least for me, my entire childhood growing up, like I put them on this kind of magical pedestal. And it's not to say that they don't deserve to be put on a magical pedestal. My parents are great, but like at the end of the day, they're just people like anybody else. And that helped me kind of realize that we're all kind of just in this rat race together. And they just have a significantly more amount of life experience than I do. But aside from that, we're all just people in this world. And these man children, as they describe them, don't ever come to that realization. A lot of them are brought up in homes with single mothers, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing necessarily, but single mothers have a tendency to coddle their children. And so you're brought up in a home with a single mom, and the single mom kind of babies you along and lets you just kind of continue to mooch off of them and just not ever really be an independent person. And then you wind up with these sorts of issues. And the idea being that they just are these people who sit around and waste a lot of time. I really feel like I'm not doing this concept a lot of justice because I'm just retorting off of the top of my head right now. But like I said, I'm going to make a more organized effort on it. But like one of the biggest things is he said is like these people just basically just sit around all day playing video games and getting high and just waste their time away. And I've run into a lot of people online who are like that, and they just play video games. They spend 90% of their life under the influence of marijuana, and that's just their existence. And to me, it's just such a waste of everything. And it's getting to the point now where I don't want to spend time with them. I say in my old age, I'm not old, but in my old age, as I age and mature, I'm literally noticing myself maturing these days. But as these things happen, as I age, as I mature, as I understand and realize these things, I find myself having less and less patience for these children, which is unfortunate because I am also at an advanced stage in aging where it's harder to become friends or to find friends. I just made a whole video about that yesterday, actually, where it was like, and that was triggered on by a movie that I had watched. But you get to this age and it's harder to make friends. And then the people you surround yourself with are just a bunch of childish adults. And it's just, if you are not a childish adult, it's very difficult to exist around them. And that's the unfortunate reality, I think, of where we live and how we exist in today's society. And I think one thing that a lot of people target, a lot of people are quick to shoot their shots at video games for this. And I think it's important to stress that like anything is no good for you in excess. But like I still play games. I give myself about an hour a night, if that. I use it more as a social tool than anything. Like that's where I get my social interactions. I hang out with people on Xbox, old friends of mine that I've known forever, new friends of mine that I just recently met, what have you. And so for me, the hour that I spend on Xbox is a social escape, but it's a controlled social escape. I'm not, like I said, I'm not dumping entire afternoons on Xbox. I was that person at a point in time in my early 20s. In 2016, I would reckon, September of 16, I took a job that was Monday through Friday, 5 to 1:30. It was sweet hours. It was awesome. And that was, at the time, that was my life. I would get home. I would play video games from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'd go to bed, wake up, go to work, rinse and repeat, and every day was the same. And eventually I got to a point where I was just like, this is no way to live. Like, I cannot continue to exist in this realm and in this environment. Like, this is not conducive to success. And so then, like, a switch flipped. And I was actively trying to figure out what had changed. Why had my mind made this change, or what have you? And I thought that maybe the video games were just not as fun as they used to be. And I think that that is part of it. But my response at the time was to get a second job. And I was like, okay, I have all this time from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day that I am just occupying with video games. And I was like, well, maybe if I allow myself less time to play, then I will value my playtime more. And so I got a second job. I was working evenings at a bank from 2 to 6. And then that would give me, when I got home, from 6 to 10 to play instead of from 2 to 10. And that kind of helped. I think the core issue still was the fact that I did not have, or that the games were not as fun as they used to be. I didn't have all the people to play with that I used to have. But it was the core concept of giving myself less time to do something and therefore enjoying what time I had to do it. I think that really kind of solidified my success on that matter. So it's just interesting observing these things, interesting understanding how these problems arise. And like I said, it's something that I recognize, and like being a man in society, being an adult male, it is difficult to make friends. Like, your avenues for friendship at that point is just work, and coworkers are not as reliable a source of friendship as like high school buds were. And so, but it's like, it's not like you can just go out somewhere and meet a friend. Like, and that's the weird thing about adulthood, is because romance is such at the forefront of everybody's minds that it's hard to go out somewhere to make new friends and not be perceived as though you're going out somewhere to just find more relationships. Like, because going out and making new friends isn't necessarily something people do. I'm sure people do it, just not as often as they go out to form a new relationship. And so it's interesting to observe these things and to try and hope that we can build a society where it is more acceptable for men to want to just form friendships with each other, even in adulthood. And it's really kind of gives a lot of credit to how formative our younger years are, because a lot of these things that happen to us in our younger years tend to stick with us. And so it's like, okay, yeah, that happened, that was a thing, and now here we are, and I'm still dealing with the ramifications of it. I'm not going to block the intersection, so I'm just gonna have to wait. I don't even feel like the traffic's all that bad. It's just, yeah, that guy. You ruined traffic, buddy. People just don't know how to handle traffic blockages. Alright, well, I'm gonna pull in there. I know I can make it. But yeah, it's interesting to look at. Like I said, I need to sit down and dedicate myself to making more concerted video essays. The person that I watched yesterday, he filmed a lot of his own stuff, and I was saying that for a while. I was like, I could film my own what's the word I'm looking for? My own B-roll content. And like, I've tried that in the past, but I feel like it never looks like professional quality. Like, I filmed this B-roll, and I don't know, something about my vision, the filming that I do, I feel like it doesn't stand out as being as good a quality product as what other people are making online these days. And I don't know why that is. I bought a brand new camera, and it looks really good. But it probably has something to do with color grading or some sort of editing thing that I'm just missing the boat on. But that's really what I ought to do, is I ought to carve out more time to just sit down and film videos and talk to you all about whatever is on my mind, and like make a more concerted effort to like focus the conversation. Like, these videos are fun and all, and it helps me fill up the amount of content that I put out, but at the end of the day, they are just me kind of talking about what's on top of my mind, and that's not always the most productive of conversations. I feel like these last 2 videos have been pretty good because I've had strong concepts on my mind, and like that was the pattern that I found myself in when I started this project, is I would watch a video in the beginning and in the morning and then elaborate on the concepts presented in that video. And I have not been doing that. I haven't been able to do that. And so I'm just hoping now that we can excel in a way that really gets this going. So I don't know what else I have to talk about at that point. I'm almost parked, and I think that was a good enough conversation. Like I said, it probably would do you better to just watch the video that I watched, or maybe watch the video that I'm going to put out on the concept. But it's an interesting issue, an interesting idea, and just trying to understand it a little better. And yeah, thank you for stopping by. I hope this was not the most boring video you watched today, and have a good day.